Avoid these 7 places. They silently destroy your frequency. Tesla's hand shook as he held the tuning fork on the mahogany table, not out of fear, of contained fury. That frequency, he had detected it for the 3rd time that week. It came from the newly opened shopping center on 5th Avenue, a hum that was imperceptible to the common human ear, but devastating for anyone who could feel the surrounding energy field. He squinted his eyes and muttered, "They know what they're doing." 3 days earlier, one of his assistants had fainted after spending 2 hours there, for no apparent reason. Doctors called it sudden fatigue. Tesla called it by its real name, vibrational drainage. And the worst part, it wasn't an accident. It was deliberate architecture. Take a deep breath now. Think about how many times you've left a place and felt like something was ripped out of you. A tiredness that sleep cannot resolve. A causeless irritation. An emptiness that didn't exist before entering. Have you ever wondered why? Tesla spent decades studying something that modern science still pretends not to see. There are environments that work like human frequency vacuum cleaners. Places built, some out of ignorance, others out of intention, to suck away vitality, lower vibration, and trap consciousness in loops of silent despair. He left 7 notes, 7 specific locations, 7 energy traps, and a warning on each. Avoid, or pay the price with your essence. The first note was kept in a copper box, sealed with red wax. When his closest assistant, young Michael Keller, opened it, he read aloud, "Place number 1, the temples of infinite consumption." Michael frowned. "Malls, Mr. Tesla?" Tesla nodded slowly, his eyes fixed on the window, where the afternoon light cast long shadows. Not just shopping malls, any environment designed to make you feel incomplete. Lights at frequencies that excite anxiety. Subliminal sounds that make your heart race. Chemical scents that block mental clarity. Everything calibrated to one thing, making you buy what you don't need with money you don't have, to impress people who don't care. Michael swallowed. He had spent the entire last Sunday in one of these places. He returned home exhausted, irritated with his wife, unable to sleep. "Now I understood." Tesla continued, his voice low but penetrating. "Each unnecessary purchase is an energetic agreement. You exchange your vital frequency for soulless objects, and the environment knows this. It was designed for that. The cold white lights imitate daylight, but without the full spectrum, keep you alert but never satisfied. The background music is calculated at 440 Hz, a frequency that destabilizes the nervous system. The mirrors are positioned to multiply the feeling of emptiness, and the corridors are intentional mazes. They make you walk more, spend more, think less. He turned to Michael, his gaze sharp. "Do you think it's a coincidence that, after 3 hours in a shopping mall, you feel like fighting with the person you love?" Michael felt a shiver. "Frequency, boy. Everything is frequency. And when you enter a lower vibrational field than yours, you either lift it up or it pulls you down. And places like these were made to pull." Tesla picked up the tuning fork again and made it vibrate. The pure, crystal clear sound echoed throughout the room. Afterwards, he brought it closer to a glass full of water. The waves formed, perfect, concentric. "See that? Your mind, your body, your soul, everything vibrates. You are a living wave, and when you enter an environment charged with chaotic frequencies, your wave becomes disorganized. You lose coherence, you lose strength, you lose yourself." He paused, letting the silence weigh down. "And the worst thing of all, Michael, is that you don't even realize it. You leave there thinking that the problem is with you, that you are weak, that you are anxious, that you are not enough. But the problem was never you, it was the field." Michael leaned forward, his breath bated. "What about the other 6 seats, Mr. Tesla?" Tesla smiled sideways, a bitter smile of someone who knows truths that burn, one at a time. "If I reveal them all now, you won't believe it. First, you need to feel it, you need to test it, you need to see it with your own eyes, or rather with your own frequency." He got up, straightened his jacket and walked to the door. Before leaving, he turned one last time. "Tomorrow, avoid any place that makes you feel like you're not enough. Watch how your body reacts, watch your mind, and then you'll understand that it was never about having more. It was always about being more, and being more requires protecting your frequency as if your life depended on it." The door closed. Michael was left alone, staring at the copper box. Inside it, there were still 6 folded papers, 6 traps, 6 truths, and there was only one certainty. After that conversation, he would never enter a S, hopping in the same way. If you're feeling like this story is touching something real inside you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because what comes next will show truths that most are not yet ready to hear. The next morning, Michael woke up feeling like something had changed, not within him, around him. As if, for the first time, I could feel the invisible weight of the air. He drank his coffee watching his wife Clara, who looked exhausted despite having slept 8 hours. She barely touched the bread, her eyes fixed on her cell phone. "Are you going to work at the hospital today?" he asked cautiously. "I will. Double shift." Her voice came out emotionless, automatic. Michael noticed. This was no ordinary fatigue. It was something deeper, something he now had a name for: vibrational drainage. He arrived at Tesla's laboratory at 7 in the morning. The inventor was already there, standing in front of a giant map of New York hanging on the wall. Red pins marked several points around the city. "Hospitals," said Tesla, without turning around. "Place number 2. Michael felt his stomach sink. "But hospitals save lives, Mr. Tesla. How can they be on that list?" Tesla finally turned around. There was an ancient sadness in his eyes. "I didn't say hospitals are bad, boy. I said they destroy attendance, and there's a stark difference between intent and consequence." He walked over to a table covered in papers, charts, and handwritten notes. He took one of them and handed it to Michael. "Read." Michael read in a low voice. "A hospital accumulates, in its walls, the energetic record of every pain, every fear, every despair, and every death that occurred there. The walls do not forget, the field does not dissipate, and everyone who enters, doctors, nurses, visitors, absorbs this frequency like a sponge dipped in mud." Michael swallowed. Clara had worked in a hospital for 5 years, and in the last 2, she had changed. He had become distant, cold, always tired, always irritated. He always thought it was hard work, but what if it was something more? "Your wife works at one, doesn't she?" Tesla didn't need confirmation. He already knew. "Yes, so you've seen it. The exhaustion that doesn't go away, the irritation for no reason, the feeling of carrying an invisible weight. It's not her fault, Michael. She's been immersed in a field of collective suffering for years, and no one taught her how to protect herself." Tesla turned on an antique lamp on the table. The light was soft, orange, almost alive. "Do you know why I chose this light? Because its frequency resembles that of natural fire, calms, restores. Hospital lights? White, cold, fluorescent. They imitate light, but they have no life. They stimulate the cortex but suppress the pineal gland. They keep people awake but never present." Michael clenched his fists. "So what do we do? Close the hospitals?" Tesla let out a short, humorless laugh. "Don't be foolish. We reform consciousness. Hospitals are necessary, but they need to be rethought. They need indoor gardens, running water, natural light, music in harmonic frequencies. They need to be places of real healing, not just physical. But until that happens, whoever works there needs to know you are in an energetic war zone, and if you don't protect yourself, you will be consumed." He went to a shelf and picked up a small quartz crystal. "Does your wife wear something like that?" "No. It should. Not because of cheap mysticism, but because quartz crystals vibrate at a stable frequency. They help reorganize chaotic fields. Put one in her pocket. Tell her it's an amulet if you need to, but do it." Michael took the crystal, feeling its cold weight in his palm. "And third place?" Tesla sighed deeply. He walked to the window, observing the city outside, a New York that was growing too fast, too tall, too dense. "Third place is the most treacherous of all, because you go there every day, because you think you need to be there, because you've been taught that's where you belong." He turned around slowly. "Toxic jobs." Michael blinked, confused. "But work is work, isn't it? It's part of life." Tesla took 2 steps towards him, his voice low but cutting like a blade. "Work is sacred when it honors your essence, but a job that humiliates you, that diminishes you, that makes you feel invisible, that's not work. It's consensual vampirism. And what's worse, you're still grateful at the end of the month for your salary." He pointed to the red pins on the map. "Factories where workers are numbers. Offices where competition replaces collaboration. Environments where the boss shouts but never listens. Places where you're afraid of making mistakes, afraid of speaking, afraid of being. These places don't just pay with money, Michael. They charge with your soul." Michael felt a lump in his throat. He knew people like that. Friends who left work destroyed, who drank to forget, that exploded at home or any reason, that they had lost the sparkle in their eyes. "Frequency again?" he asked, already knowing the answer. "Always," Tesla confirmed. "When you spend 8, 10, 12 hours a day in an environment of fear, control, and devaluation, your frequency sinks. You begin to vibrate at the frequency of the environment, and then you begin to attract more of the same. More humiliation, more scarcity, more despair. It becomes a cycle." He paused, letting the words sink in. "And you know what's worse? You start to think that you deserve it, that you're not capable of more, that you should be grateful for having it. But the truth, Michael, is that you're slowly being erased. And they call it adulthood." Michael felt angry. a clean, necessary anger. So people should quit everything? Quit their jobs? Tesla shook his head. It's not about abandoning. It's about awakening. It's about realizing that you have a choice. You always have. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. But you can change the field. You can pursue something that resonates with who you really are. But to do that, you have to first stop believing that you're stuck. He returned to the table and took another paper from the copper box. There are still 4 to go. Michael swallowed. I want to know everyone. Tesla smiled, this time with a trace of approval. Good, because the next one is where people go to relax. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. He didn't say anything else. He just handed the paper to Michael and left the room, leaving a silent question in the air that echoed like distant thunder. What if the places you frequent the most were exactly the ones that destroy you the most? Michael stayed up all night. I couldn't stop thinking. Hospitals, toxic jobs, shopping malls, 3 places he thought were normal, inevitable, part of life. Now each of them seemed like a trap disguised as necessity, but it was the 4th role that haunted him. He opened it alone, in the kitchen, while Clara was sleeping. Tesla's handwriting was firm, almost aggressive. Place number 4, fun bars and nightlife. Michael frowned. He went to bars. Not always, but it would. I thought it was a way to relax, to disconnect. But the truth? It always came back worse, emptier, more anxious. And the next morning, an inexplicable guilt haunted him. He returned to the laboratory at dawn. Tesla was already there, as always, but this time there was something different. He was holding an empty whiskey bottle. I found this in a bar's trash can last night, said Tesla, holding the bottle up to the light. Do you know what's in here? Nothing. It's empty. Exactly. And that's what these places do to people. They empty them. He placed the bottle on the table with a loud thud. Bars, nightclubs, environments where people go to forget. Have you noticed, Michael, that no one goes to these places to remember who they are? They go to erase, to anesthetize, to suffocate the inner voice that says, you deserve more than this. Michael sat down slowly. But people just want to have fun, don't they? Tesla let out a heavy sigh. True fun uplifts, makes you feel more alive, more connected, more you. But these places make you feel less sober, yes, but also less aware, less present, less worthy. And the next day, you wake up with a lower frequency than when you walked in. He crossed his arms, his voice gaining intensity. Do you know why alcoholic drinks are called spirits in English? Because they literally mess with spirits. They open energetic portals that you shouldn't open without protection. They lower your defenses. They make you vulnerable to dense frequencies that prowl these places like invisible predators. Michael felt a shiver. Are you serious? More serious than you might think. I've measured it. I've tested it. The vibrational frequency of a bar at 2 in the morning is similar to that of an abandoned cemetery. Despair, loneliness, lamentation. All of it permeates the air, the walls, the people. And when you go in there looking for fun, what you're really doing is bathing in collective despair. Tesla picked up the tuning fork again, but this time he didn't make it vibrate. He just held it, in silence. There's a reason why almost every bad decision in people's lives happens after 11 at night, Michael. The planet's frequency changes, human defenses drop, and in places like this, filled with alcohol, loud music, and strobe lights, you're not relaxing, you're dissolving. Michael closed his eyes. How many times had he left a bar feeling worse? How many fights with Clara started after a night like that? How many broken promises? How many stupid words spoken? I never realized, he murmured. No one notices, because they taught you that this is normal, that it is living. But living, boy, is not self-destructing in slow motion while paying dearly for it. Tesla went to a bookshelf and took a candle. He lit it and placed it between the two. See that flame? Steady, present, alive. Now imagine trying to keep it burning in the middle of a windstorm. That's what you do every time you take your frequency, your inner flame, into a chaotic environment like that. You're not having fun. You're fighting not to go out. Silence. Michael took a deep breath. And 5th place? Tesla looked at him, assessing whether he was ready. The 5th place is where people go to inform themselves, and it's where they are manipulated the most. He pulled another paper from the copper box and read it aloud. Constant negative news environments, televisions, social media, places where fear is broadcast as entertainment. Michael blinked. But we need to stay informed, don't we? Tesla let out a bitter laugh. Informed or formatted? Do you really think that watching 3 hours of tragedies, crimes, and catastrophes every day makes you more aware, or just more scared? He walked in circles, hands behind his back. Fear is a frequency, Michael, and it's the most profitable frequency in the world. It keeps you small. It keeps you obedient. It keeps you consuming products, medicines, insurance, empty promises of safety. And worst of all, you think you're taking care of yourself by educating yourself. But you're just intoxicating yourself. Michael opened his mouth to argue, but Tesla raised his hand. Listen to your body. After half an hour of watching the news or scrolling through social media full of tragedy, how do you feel? Michael closed his eyes. Anxious, tense, hopeless. Exactly, Tesla confirmed. Because these platforms weren't made to inform you. They were made to capture you, to drain your attention, which is pure energy, and convert it into profit. Every second you spend there, you are donating your vital frequency to feed a system that doesn't care about you. He pointed at Michael's head. Your mind is a garden, and you've allowed them to dump toxic waste into it every day, thinking that's being up to date. But gardens watered with poison don't flourish, boy. They rot. Michael felt a weight in his chest. He spent at least 2 hours a day consuming news and social media, and he never, not once, felt better afterward. So what do I do? Isolate myself? Ignore the world? No. You consciously choose what enters your mind. You filter. You protect. You consume information only when necessary, not as an addiction. Because, Michael, every thought you feed is a seed, and if you only plant fear, anger, and despair, what do you think you will reap? More silence. But now, it was a different silence. Heavy, revealing. Tesla returned to the window, observing the city that never slept. There are still 2 seats left, he said without looking back. And those are the hardest to accept, because they're the places where you're supposed to be safe, where you're supposed to feel at home. Michael stood up, his heart racing. Where? Tesla slowly turned around, and for the first time, Michael saw something he had never seen before in the inventor's eyes. Deep sadness. Tomorrow you'll find out, but today, go home. Hug your wife, feel the energy in your own home, and ask yourself, here, do I vibrate higher or lower? Michael left the lab on shaky legs. 6 places revealed, 2 still hidden, and a growing certainty that what Tesla was about to reveal would change everything. Michael didn't sleep that night, not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the red pins on Tesla's map. Every place he went, every choice he made, everything seemed tainted now. At 5 in the morning, he gave up. He got up in silence, prepared coffee, and watched Clara sleep. She looked so tired, even though she was sleeping, as if rest no longer reached her. He touched the quartz crystal Tesla had given him. I hadn't given it to her yet. Fear of looking ridiculous, afraid she would laugh, but now he only felt afraid of losing her to that invisible exhaustion. He placed the crystal on her bedside table, next to the glass of water. Then he went to the laboratory. Tesla was sitting on the floor, cross-legged, his eyes closed. He breathed slowly, deeply. Around him, lit candles formed a perfect circle. The environment was absolutely silent, but it was not an empty silence. It was dense, alive, as if the air itself was vibrating. Michael stopped at the door, not knowing if he should go in. Tesla opened his eyes. Come in, and closed the door. Michael obeyed. He felt something different as soon as he crossed the threshold, as if he had crossed an invisible membrane. The tension I carried in my shoulders disappeared. Do you feel it? Asked Tesla, still sitting. I feel peace, frequency. I reconfigured the field of this room. I removed everything that drains. I kept only what elevates. It's like this that you protect a space. That's how you protect yourself. He got up slowly, blew out the candles one by one. The time has come, Michael. The last 2 places. Silence. Tesla walked to the copper box and picked up the 6th paper. His hand shook slightly as he held it. Then he looked at Michael with a cutting intensity. Are you ready for the truth? Michael nodded, although part of him wanted to run away. Tesla unfolded the paper and read in a low voice. Place number 6. Homes where there is no love. The air left Michael's lungs as if someone had punched him in the chest. What? Tesla didn't look away. You heard me. The 6th place that silently destroys your frequency is your own home. When it stopped being a home, Michael felt his legs weaken. He sat down on a chair before he fell. No, that's not. Yes, Tesla interrupted, firm but not cruel. You can avoid shopping malls. You can change jobs. You can stop going to bars and turn off the news. But what do you do when the place that should be your refuge has become the place where you lose the most energy? Michael couldn't speak. He just looked at the floor. Tesla knelt in front of him, forcing eye contact. How many times do you come home and feel tightness in your chest? How many times do you avoid conversations because you know they will turn into fights? How often do you sleep in the same room as your wife, but miles away from her? Tears began to burn in Michael's eyes. I don't know how to fix this. I know you don't know. But ignoring it won't make it go away. A home without love, without connection, without high frequency, is worse than any bar, any hospital, any toxic job. Because that's where you're supposed to recharge. That's where you should vibrate the highest. And when that reverses, you slowly collapse. Tesla got up again. giving Michael space to breathe. Your house vibrates on the frequency of resentful silence, Michael. You are both there, but not there. They just coexist. And this sucks more energy than anywhere else because it's constant. It's where you spend your nights. That's where you should rest, but you don't rest. You just survive. Michael wiped his tears with the back of his hand. What do I do? Tesla sighed. You choose. Reconstruct the frequency of this space, with truth, with vulnerability, with real presence. Or do you accept that this home has already died and have the courage to start over, but staying in the middle, pretending? It will kill you inside. Heavy silence. Painful. Real. Then Tesla took the last paper, the seventh, and now, the most treacherous of all. He didn't unfold. He just held it, looking at it like it was a sentence. Place number 7. He looked up at Michael. Your own mind. Michael blinked, confused. My mind? Tesla nodded slowly. The most dangerous place there is. The one you can never run away from. The only one who is always with you. And if he's contaminated, none of the other 6 matter, because you carry hell inside you. He walked to a chalkboard covered in equations and drew a human brain. Your mind can be the highest temple or the darkest prison, and most people live in prison without realizing it. Constant self-critical thoughts, painful memories on an infinite loop, catastrophic projections of the future. All of this creates an internal energy field of very low frequency. Tesla crossed out the drawing hard, his voice rising. And then you ask yourself, why isn't my life getting better? Why do I always attract the same situations? And the answer is here. He hit himself in the head. Because you are vibrating internally in fear, in guilt, in self-sabotage. You can escape all the toxic places in the world, but if your mind is the most toxic place of all, you never escape. Michael felt like he had been punched in the soul. How do I change this? Tesla approached, and for the first time in days, he smiled. A sad but genuine smile. You've already started, by becoming aware, by being here, by not running away from the truth. He placed his hand on Michael's shoulder. Now comes the difficult part. You need to clear your mind like cleaning an infested garden. Pull out the weeds, the thoughts that diminish you. Water the flowers, the thoughts that elevate you. And that, my boy, requires discipline. It demands silence. It demands that you stop allowing any other thoughts to invade your sacred territory. He let go of Michael's shoulder and took 2 steps back. 7 seats, 7 traps, but only one real battlefield, the internal one. Michael took a deep breath. Everything made sense now. Everything. And if I can actually avoid these places and clear my mind, what happens? Tesla looked out the window, where the sun was beginning to rise. You become immune. You vibrate so high that the low fields cannot reach you more. You pass by the same places that used to destroy you, and they don't touch you, because the internal frequency is stronger than any external frequency. He turned around and his eyes sparkled. And then, Michael, you become what you always should have been, a free human being, not tied to places, not attached to people, not even tied to your own mind. Free. Michael stood up. The legs were still shaking, but the heart was different, lighter, more alive. Tesla extended his hand. The question now is, will you have the courage? Michael looked at that hand, the hand of a man who saw beyond, who fought alone, who paid the price of conscience, and pressed. I will. 3 months passed. Michael was standing in front of Tesla's laboratory, but this time he was not alone. Clara was at his side. She held the quartz crystal in her hand, the same one he had left on her bedside table that morning. You were the one who left this, weren't you? She asked, her voice soft. Michael nodded. It was. She smiled, a small but real smile. Thank you. They entered together. Tesla was sitting at the table, writing in his worn leather notebook. Upon seeing them, he closed his notebook and slowly stood up. You guys are back. We're back, Michael said, and we needed to thank you. Tesla frowned. Thank you? Why? Clara took a step forward. Because you saved our marriage. Tesla blinked in surprise. It wasn't something he expected to hear. Michael continued. After that conversation, I went home. I sat next to her, and for the first time in years, I actually spoke. I didn't pretend. I didn't avoid it. I said I was lost, that he was exhausted, that I felt like we were living like ghosts in our own house. Clara took his hand, and I said so too. I told him about the hospital, about how I came home carrying each patient's pain, about how I had forgotten who I was before I became just a tired nurse. Tesla listened silently, his eyes fixed on them. Michael took a deep breath. We changed everything. She asked for a transfer to another department, somewhere with less trauma, more preventive care. I left the job that suffocated me. I'm earning less now, but I come home alive. We stopped going to places that drained us just because everyone goes. We turn off the television. We limit social media, Clara added, and we started taking care of our home, not just clean, take care of her energy. We light candles. We put plants, we open the windows, and every day before bed, we sit together and breathe. Just breathe, in silence. Tesla approached slowly, hands clasped behind his back. And the mind? Michael smiled, a tired but victorious smile. That was the hardest part. I realized that I spent the whole day internally punishing myself, calling myself weak, a failure, insufficient. And I didn't even notice. It was automatic. He touched his chest. But now I stop. Every time a thought like that comes up, I stop, breathe, and I ask, is this true? Or is it just an echo of something someone made me believe? And most of the time, it's just echo. Tesla nodded slowly, satisfied. You guys got it. He walked to the window, watching the city outside. The afternoon sun painted everything gold. Most people spend their entire lives blaming the world, blaming others, blaming the circumstances. But you had the courage to look inside, to take responsibility for your own frequency. And that, my friends, is rare. He turned around. But don't think the battle is over, because the world will try to pull them back. Always try. There will be days when you will want to give up, days when low frequency will seem easier, more comfortable. And on those days, Tesla paused, his gaze intense. You will need to remember what you felt when you decided to change. They will need to remember that freedom has a price, and the price is constant vigilance. Clara took a step forward. Mr. Tesla, do you live like this? Alone, always attentive, always protecting your frequency? Tesla smiled, a sad old smile, alive. And there are days when that weighs heavily. There are days when I wish I was like everyone else, of not feeling so much, not seeing as much. But then I remember. He looked at the sky through the window. I remember that each person who awakens and protects their frequency sends a wave into the collective field. And maybe, just maybe, these waves will meet. And when they meet, they will create a resonance so powerful that no low frequency will be able to dominate humanity anymore. Silence. A sacred silence. Michael took Clara's hand and squeezed it. Then we'll continue, and let's teach our children, and they will teach theirs. Until this wisdom is no longer a secret. Tesla nodded. It's all I ever wanted. He returned to the table and picked up the leather notebook, opened on a blank page and began to write as he spoke. 7 places, 7 traps, but only one truth. You are the guardian of your own frequency. No one can steal it without your permission. No one can destroy it without you handing it over. And the moment you understand that, you stop being a victim. You become a creator. He tore out the page and handed it to Michael. Take this. Share it with whoever is ready, but don't force anyone, because this truth only works for those who choose to see it. Michael took the paper and read it out loud. Avoid places that diminish you. Avoid people who empty you. Avoid thoughts that imprison you. And above all, protect the invisible field that you carry, because it is all you really have. Silent tears ran down Clara's face. Thanks, she whispered. Tesla bowed lightly. Don't thank me. Just live, really live. Vibrate loudly. And when you find someone lost in the low frequency, don't judge. Remember when you were there too. And if they're ready, reach out. Michael and Clara looked at each other. They didn't need words. They knew what to do. They left the laboratory hand in hand, walking towards the sun that was descending on the horizon. Tesla stood at the window, watching them until they disappeared around the bend in the street. Then he went back to his desk, picked up the tuning fork, and made it vibrate. The pure, crystal-clear sound echoed throughout the empty room, and he smiled, because I knew that that sound, that frequency, now lived in 2 people, and these 2 people would pass it on. And so, slowly, silently, the frequency would spread, as it always should have been. 6 months later, Michael opened a small space on the outskirts of the city. It wasn't big, it wasn't luxurious, but it was different. The walls were painted in soft colors. There were plants everywhere, running water in a stone fountain, natural light coming in through large windows, and in the center of the main room, a single inscription on the wall. This is a place of high frequency. Enter with respect, leave with light. People started to show up, first few, then more and more. They came tired, they came empty, they were lost, and they came out different, not cured, not magically transformed, but you wake up. Clara worked alongside him, teaching breathing and energetic reorganization techniques that she herself had learned. And every Friday night, they sat in a circle with whoever wanted to participate and read excerpts from the notebook that Tesla had given them. One day, a young girl arrived in space. She was shaking, sunken eyes, shoulders slumped. I can't take it anymore, she said, her voice breaking. I feel like I'm disappearing. Michael led her to a chair. He sat in front of her. I know, he said softly. I felt that too. But you're not disappearing. You're just vibrating in a field that's not yours. She looked up, confused. What? Michael smiled. Come on, let me tell you about 7 places you need to avoid. And so, Tesla's message continued, not in big speeches, not in noisy revolutions, but in small waves, in silent choices, in people who decided to protect their frequency, and in doing so, became beacons for others. Because in the end, true change has never been about changing the world. It was always about changing the internal frequency. And when you change your frequency, the world around you has no choice but to rearrange itself. This is the law of the universe. This is Tesla's heritage. And now, it's yours. If this story touched something real inside you, if you felt like these words weren't just words, but frequencies disguised as letters, subscribe to the channel, because there are truths that the world is not yet ready to hear. But you might be. Protect your frequency, raise your vibration, and remember, you are not alone on this silent journey. Until the next wave.